Okey Syafiq, saya dah bagi host kau.
Okay. Thank you, brother. Guys, can everyone hear me?
Yes, Ashwin.
Okay. Good evening and hi everyone. My name is Raj Kumaran. I'd like to welcome all of you to the last day of Aero Brainer. Tonight, we'll have a sharing session presented by two of our special speakers. Before we proceed, on behalf of the committee member of our Aero Brainer, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us tonight, despite of your busy schedules. Okay, everyone. Now, I would like to make a few reminders to all of you. Since the program will be conducted live, we do hope to get good cooperation from each and every one of you to not leave any inappropriate or sensitive comments in the comment section. To all UPM students, please stay tuned with us until the last slot, where we'll be displaying the QR code for your identities. Before we begin, let us start off the event with a prayer. So I would like to call upon Mr. Farhan Al-Faizi bin Razemi Yazi to lead the recital.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم اجعلنا هذا جمعا مرحوما وتفرقنا من بعده تفرق معصوما ولا تجعل اللهم فينا ولا معنا شقيا ولا مترودا ولا محروما. ربنا عليك توكلنا وإليك أنبنا وإليك المصير. اللهم طول أعمارنا وصحح أجسادنا وثبت إيماننا ووسع أرزاقنا وحسن أخلاقنا ونور قلوبنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم اجعلنا من أهل الخير واجعلنا من أهل البركة واجعلنا من أهل المغفرة. اللهم اجعلنا من أهل الجنة واجعلنا من أهل الفردوس أعلى برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم اجعل مجلسنا هذا مجلسا مباركا لأصحابنا وأهلنا وجيراننا وضيوفنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين.
Thank you, Mr. Farhan. Now let's move on to the main event. Today's session will be divided into two sections. The first section will be presented by our first speaker from 8:30 till 9:30, followed by a second section, which will be presented by our second speaker from 9:30 till 10:30, followed by a Q&A session. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comment section. We will read the questions randomly. Now, let me introduce our first speaker. He's a lecturer here at University Putra Malaysia in the Faculty of Engineering, Department of Aerospace Engineering. He's also the academic coordinator and also former Students Affairs coordinator. He's also one of the members of Board of Engineering Malaysia, Malaysia Space Initiative, and Society of Engineering Education. Apart from that, he has also won Vice Chancellor Fellowship Award in 2019. So with all due respect, let me invite our first speaker, Dr. Ahmad Salahuddin bin Mohd Harithuddin, to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. MC, Mr. Yasmin Raj. Thank you to the organizer. Just please excuse me for 1 second because I think my computer is lagging somehow for some reason. I need to close a few programs. So please excuse me for a couple minutes. For those of you who are hearing me, can you hear me well? Is there any sangkut or anything?
No, Doctor, we can hear you clearly.
Yes, no? Okay, so probably it's just from my view then. Okay, all right. Let me share my screen. Hopefully you can see it. Okay. Okay, Yasmin Raj, I need you to ensure something for me. I'm making this, I'm showing my screen right now, and I'm showing the slide mode. Can you see the slide mode?
Yes, Doctor, we can see the slides.
All right, if I move around, can you see the slides?
Yes, Doctor.
Or does it only stick to one slide maybe?
No, it's actually changing.
Yeah?
Yes, you are changing the slides.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. Let's see. All right, first and foremost, I would like to thank you all. After the long final exam week, you want to have something like really relaxing, get together with friends, listen to some things while you're doing something else this evening. So as your student club, Eros, I think you guys have organized a few talks these past few days, which I think is interesting. I saw one on LinkedIn the other day, and there's one also yesterday. I think last night I was on avionics, and then I was invited by your colleagues to give a talk, and then say, yeah, sure, what topic on is going to be. So they gave me this topic, tell. And then I asked them, well, what should I talk about? And I just talk about anything. So we figured out. Then I think I just want to talk whatever I want to talk about. So I don't want to make it too academic. So there won't be a lecture. Yeah. You're tired of lectures all semesters. I'm tired of lecturing all semesters. Okay, and also want to keep it light. Keep the question coming in. You can just raise your hand and then just cut me off whenever you like. Ask me a question. Okay, I heard some things now. Is there any problem, audio or video wise, Mr. MC?
No, doctor.
Okay, cool. All right, so for those of you who haven't met me, my name is Salahuddin. My students call me Dr. Salah, and I'm from the Aerospace Engineering Department. Also, yeah, thank you for the introduction. From Yasmin Raj. So today I'm just going to talk about the space. I'm not myself an astronomer or space scientist. It's just I happen to be involved in a lot of space related projects as an aerospace engineer. And along the way, since my undergrad, actually my FYP was on creating a constellation to map the Earth. So this was before Google Earth, Google Map existed. So we kind of pioneered a study on how to on suggesting to Google whether they should have their own constellation of satellite so that they can have Google Map, Google Earth, what we have today. It turned out that our ideas was not accepted a few years later, because right now Google is resorted to buying some images from the existing satellite company. Anywho, the interesting thing about space is it's one of the oldest I would say scientific field or academic field. I think maybe the first one is people trying to figure out how not to die. One thing. Die from hunger, so they look up food. Die from disease, so they look up for medicine, stuff like that. And then secondly, I think people start to watch the sky and then see all these stars, and then they wonder why is it that way? Why are the stars laid out that way? Does it have a meaning? Does it tell us something? And we can't help it. We as a human being can't help it. Look at the stars. We thought, hey, there must be something to it. Also, before that, let me see who's in our audience. We got Isfat. How are you? I think you're all the way from France.
I'm good.
Okay.
anywho, yeah. So people start using the sky and what does all these stars constellation means? You know, what all this can we use them? So people start using them to navigate themselves in the sea. And then in order to memorize the stars, they start naming, you know, the shapes, the constellation. This is Virgo. This is I don't know, Capricorn. This is the Southern Cross. This is such and such. So that's the way of the old Greek civilization tried to memorize the sky as the map. Okay, but that's not the interesting part. Navigation is another thing. I think it's a whole new, it's a whole another academic field. But what I want to tell you that thousands of years ago, people have already been staring at the sky and figured out things that we don't even know how to today. One example I want to show you is this guy. This guy was, well, this is a drawing painting based on what's appeared on coins or something like that. So Eratosthenes, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. But he was one of the, if not the first, I think he was the first one who figured out the circumference of the Earth, like how big our Earth is. And interestingly, at that time, you got to imagine, this is like thousands of years ago. We don't have any telescope. We don't have any, you know, sharp, accurate ruler or anything. What they have is, at that time, is just a pole, tiang, and shadow. So he was talking to a friend in kampung, like his village. No, actually, he was in Sain or Aswan, that's another name. Hold on, I need to stop that music.
Hey, janganlah music tu. Please.
So he was talking to a friend. Okay, he was talking to a friend in Sain, and then he was saying, you know, during this day, we can at this date every year, the sun is right on top of this pole right here, so you won't see any shadow. And then this guy, his friend, said, oh, that's weird. In Alexandria, my town, is different. You can actually, you know, the dates are different, you know, and in probably somewhere in July, then we're gonna have the pole with no shadow. But during this time, yeah, we still have shadow. So Eratosthenes was quickly thinking, hey, you know what? I think I can figure out how big our Earth is. So the way he did it was I think he was from Alexandria. His friend was from Sain. So he said at that day when there's no shadow on the pole, and then mid afternoon in Sain. So let's figure out what day it was, and then the same day, someone in Alexandria start measuring the pole shadow, the length of the shadow. So from this, he figured out the size of the Earth. And so it's interesting that, you know, thousands of years ago, people, you know, with their just use two poles and shadows and their big brains, they can figure out the size of the Earth. All right. Another interesting thing is, back then, although they can figure out the size of the Earth and everything, but at that time, most of what we know about scientific field today is still philosophical. Philosophical meaning that usually whoever who is more what we say petah bercakap, you know, if you're good at debating, if you're good at an argument, if you're good at philosophizing, then your ideas will stand out. So one of the most standard idea at that time was the geocentric idea, that the Earth is the center of the universe, everything is revolving around the Earth. And this has been going on for quite a while. And if you need one figure from this geocentric model, is this guy, is Ptolemy. Okay, I found this also is another drawing. But basically, Earth is the center of the universe, everything else, including the sun, the moon, and everything, the stars are revolving around the Earth. So when did we figure out that actually the Earth is moving around the sun, not the other way around? But before that, like I said, the geocentric model is not only limited to the Greek civilization. Even at that time, the Muslim astronomers also, they they thought that the Earth was the center of the universe, and then when they start to try to plot the orbit of the sun, plot the orbit of the planets, and everything, they couldn't figure out a good way, simple way. So one of the Persian astronomer at that time, Nasruddin Al-Tusi, he came up with something what we call epicycles. It's like a circle in a circle. If a circle is moving inside a circle, it can describe the orbit of certain planets. But it's really hard. It's just really hard to actually what should I say, to predict the position of the sun next year, probably, or the planet next year. So so let me just visualize this problem. Okay, if you look at the right one, that's geocentrism. Okay, that's the idea of Ptolemy, Nasruddin Al-Tusi. At that time, the Earth is at the center, and then everything else is moving around the orbit. It was really hard to figure, there's no easy way to figure out the trajectory of the orbit. So that's why Al-Tusi was mentioning this epicycle thing. And then, yeah, so not to mention not accurate. It's just you cannot actually predict where it's going to move. But heliocentrism, people start figuring out, hey, you know what? If the sun is at the center, then everything will make more sense. Not sense as in it's easier to calculate. You can actually predict where it's going to move. Okay, I'm just going to let me see. Move on to this guy here, Copernicus. So Copernicus was not the earliest, but he was one of the guys that pushes the idea and tried to convince a lot of the society at that time that heliocentric is the way to go. But like I said, he cannot prove it. It's hard for him to prove it scientifically. Scientifically means you need to observe. Because if you need to observe, if you need to prove that the Earth moves around the sun by observation, then you need to have something like what we call a stellar parallax. Now your the sun is in the middle, okay, and then let's say if Earth is at this point here, then you're gonna see the stars. This star is in front of this stars B. If you see the star in a straight line, but when you're on the other side of the orbit, then you're gonna see a different star behind the same star that you see last 6 months ago. Okay, so this is stellar parallax, but unfortunately, the difference is really, really small. You cannot really, during that time, even with the best telescopes that they have, they cannot figure out, we can't see the difference. So only today we have a telescope precise enough to see the difference of this stellar parallax. So Copernicus was having a hard time to convince a lot of people back then. But somehow, I think one way or another, I think there are a few other theories as well. And so Copernicus's idea was maintained until today. Well, not actually until today, but until we come to these two guys here, Tycho Brahe and Johannes Kepler. This guy, I think in Swiss mechanics, I taught class about this guy here in the beginning. So Tycho Brahe he's an astronomer. He's a Danish astronomer. He's really rich. You can see by his outfit here, he's really rich. He's got his own observatory. He's got his own telescope. He's been recording observations of Mars, Jupiter, Moon. And model of a circular orbit. If I think that Mars's orbit is a circle, then my calculation is not that. Hold on. Is my internet stable here? I keep getting. How is it? Yes, Raj.
A bit
my internet
choppy.
stable.
It was a bit laggy just now.
A bit laggy, yeah, just now. Okay, I hope this is okay now.
But now it's okay.
Okay, all right. Something is happening, I guess. Okay, you can see my screen now, yeah? So yeah, at this time, this guy, Taco Brahi, so he switched and he's confused with his data. So he called his research assistant, Johannes Kepler. He was much younger back then. He was a really, a scrawny little fella who was working with Taco Brahi. And then he took the job. He actually looked at the data and then tried to figure out something. So he took him many years, many months to actually try to make sense of the data from Tycho Brahe's observation data. And then after a while, he figured out how actually planets move around the sun. He was saying that actually, you know what? Copernicus was slightly wrong. He was correct in that the Earth and the other planets all revolve around the sun, but the orbit is not really a circle, but instead it's an ellipse. So that was what we call one of the Kepler's laws. So he came up with three laws, tiga hukum bagaimana planet bergerak, how planets move around sun. So one of the laws is like it's not really a circle, it's an ellipse. Ellipse is like a squashed circle. And then he said something about the planets travel equal areas in equal times. Basically, what he's saying that as the planet get closer to the sun, it moves faster. And he also noticed that as the orbit grows big, he from Tycho Brahe's data, he figured out how planets move around the sun, and quite accurately based on the data that he had. But Kepler's only explains how planets move, but he didn't explain why planets move that way. To look at how actually people understand why planets move that way, we go to this guy. Actually, this guy didn't find it out, but this is another English astronomer. And just now, this is English astronomer. So he was one of the guys who later on figured out the trajectory for the comet Halley. This comet here, comet is like something like this that it appears in our sky. It appears like it's not a star, it's not a planet, but it's not a meteor, but it's a comet. It's a celestial object that is rarely seen. And this one right here is Comet Halley. The Halley's comet is seen every 73 or 76 years, something like that. The orbit is really elliptical, so you won't see it every year. You only see it every. So he was he was an astronomer. He said, "Well, I kind of understand what Kepler was trying to talk about, but why do they move this way? Why do they move in ellipse and such like that?" So he asked this guy right here, Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton that time was known as a really serious fellow. He's a scientist. He studies a lot of things, not only physics but other things as well, like colors, alchemy. And he's also a devout person, so he's actually very religious, as opposed to what some people are thinking today that all scientists they are not religious, but actually Isaac Newton was very, very religious. But anywho, Edmund Halley, he knew Isaac Newton, so he asked Newton about this, and Newton was like, "Oh, okay, I'll give it a thought." So it took him quite a few years, and then he to describe this to Edmund Halley and the rest of the science committee, he actually invented calculus to try to figure out some things that about orbits and stuff. So he, from calculus, so he managed to explain a few things. Like here, this is an example from a textbook I used for my class this semester, space mechanics. So the calculus is all about these little things like dt, small increment here, a small change in area, small change in time. So it's all about changes. And from here, he figure out the orbit moves that way. So just to show you here, I'm going to show you some visualization here, if I may. So this is how Newton's explain how orbit works in his book. Well, not this animation, but he drew this in his book. So he was saying that, okay, you imagine there's a cannon on top of a mountain, on top of a really tall mountain, and this tall mountain is on a perfect sphere of a planet. So let's say we shoot a cannon sideways, we shoot a cannonball sideways with that speed. So what's going to happen? Yeah, of course, the cannonball is going to fall to the ground eventually. All right, but as we speed up the cannonball, you can see that the trajectory goes further and further because we're shooting it faster. But at this time, it's not fast enough. But the gravity, because the gravity is pulling it down, so it eventually will fall to the ground. Okay, so what if we just increase the trajectory a bit more? So you can see the curve getting longer and longer, and it takes longer time for the cannonball to fall to the ground. Okay, if I push it. So I think you can know now what happened if we push it further. What's going to happen to the trajectory? It's still being pulled by the gravity of the Earth, but this time it won't have. It's just too fast. It won't have time to fall to the ground. So instead, it will just orbit. So Newton was explaining this experimental thought. He said how orbits work. It turns out that this idea was exactly the same idea on how we launch satellites in orbit. Okay. So it's pretty cool. So Newton has thought about this back in a few hundred years ago when he was trying to explain why planets move the way they do. But it turns out, a couple of hundred years later, we've used the same idea to launch satellites. So everyone okay so far? Right now it's just too quiet. I don't know if I'm offline or not. Nobody was able to tell me. Yep. Anything? Am I offline now, or am I talking alone?
No.
No, I can hear you.
No. Okay. Oh, the moderator also is doing something else. Okay. How many we have here today? 40 people. Okay. I see a few familiar names. Nice. I think those who attended my space mechanics last time, I think you've heard most of this, yeah? Or have you not?
True, Doctor. True.
Yes, Doctor.
Yeah, maybe some of it. But yeah, we'll see what we can do today more. You know what? I want to try something new. I want to try to switch my internet connection to my hotspot, see if it's more stable that way. So bear with me. Yeah. By the way, you all finished the exams already? Or you still have a few more after this?
Finish already, Doctor. It's semester break.
Oh, really? Finish, yeah? Semester break and waiting for the results. Just so you know, my space mechanics students, I haven't actually started marking your I've looked to your final exam paper, but I haven't actually graded it yet. Too many things to do. Okay, bear with me. It's been Raj. I'm trying to connect to.
Sure, Doctor. Take your time.
Oh, half an hour I've gone. So let me just be a bit quicker. All right, can we continue? Yeah. Yes, I think we can continue. Moderator, is everything okay? You can see everything, yeah?
Yes, Doctor. You can see.
Okay.
Yes.
So, but Newton has found out that, from his ideas, from his calculus, from his space mechanics, he figured out that actually, basically, you will have 4 types of orbit possible: parabola, circle, ellipse, hyperbola. Okay. But later, if you study space mechanics later on, for those of you who haven't taken that yet, we're gonna, we hammer our head with these things like every day, every week, and then it turns out that the last semester we see there are more types of orbits that we actually haven't learned. Actually, space mechanics is a huge subject and so on. Anyway, okay, yeah. So not long after that, so I'm going to skip a few hundred years later. We, as a human being, we figured out how to fly. We figured out how to fly way before, but can we fly with a machine that is heavier than air? So the Wright brothers, they were the first one who have devised a way to have a controlled flight with a machine that is heavier than air. But as you can see, we cannot go too high with this. So how do we go to the extreme altitudes? How do we go hundreds of kilometers up there? How do we cross the sky to go to space? So if you haven't yet, you will learn about this guy, this Russian guy genius, from space launch class, Konstantin Tsiolkovsky. I like this picture of him. He seems a genius with lots of books behind him, and then and then coolly listen to you with an ear trumpet. Actually, why he is so interesting is because he is using calculus also. He was using that to figure out what we call a rocket equation. Right now, rocket equation is known as the Tsiolkovsky equation. So if you ask your seniors who have taken space launch technology, these guys' names will first appear in the textbook. In the first few weeks, we'll learn a lot about this guy's idea. So he, as usual, that time was probably 100 years ago. So he came up with the mathematics, and he came up with also the way of how rockets should move, should be. But of course, this is just his idea in his head. It turned out that rockets doesn't really appear this way, but more or less the same. But modern rocketry, you gotta appreciate these two guys here, especially on the one on the right, von Braun. Okay, Goddard was American, so he's got a lot of appreciation from Americans. Actually, people call him the father of modern rocketry because he kind of invented the liquid fuel rockets. Rockets have been existing a long time ago, since the Chinese civilization. They've used mercury and everything, but those are solid propellants, and those are not very strong. Goddard, he made the first liquid fueled rocket. I think he powered this one with alcohol, beer or something, if I'm not mistaken, if I can believe the story. But modern rocketry, as how we know it today, comes from this guy, a German scientist. If I'm not mistaken, I think he used to work with the Nazi, and then he came to America. If that's a story, I believe I need to read more about him. But modern rocketry right now, you know, you gotta thank him for this idea. V1, I think this one is called. So in space launch technology, you're gonna learn about the systems here. Well, you might see these names here, you know, automatic gyro control, guide beam, nozzle, turbo pump. Sometimes all these words, you know, just go over your head. But I really like to. I found this book, right? Not this book. This guy right here. He's smart guy. He goes by the name what is his name? Randall Munro. So he tries to explain all the technical parts of the rockets using simple words, you know, which is I think is really great. Like for example, this tip here: thing to help people escape really fast if there's a problem and everything is on fire, so that decide not to go to space. So that's like the safety people box where you put the people here, chair's door, place where fire comes out to help them escape, you know, something like that. Or when he tried to describe the tank, he will say this thing that brings in cold, wet air to burn, and more breathing type air for burning. There's oxygen here. Fire comes out here. So it's kind of funny, but educational in a way. I really, you know, like this guy. So this end should point towards the ground if you want to go to space. So basically, nozzle where all the thrust coming out. If it start pointing towards space, you are having a bad problem and will not go to space today. Okay. So yeah, I find this amusing. I hope you do too. I know I'm just entertaining, amusing myself here. Anywho, don't worry about the technical part. Technical jargon is just a way people sometimes just to, you know, show off. I rather have this explanation. That was rockets. That was I think around World War II. But in 1950s, the first satellite was launched. First successful satellite, Sputnik. I really like Sputnik because it's so simple. It's just a ball of stuff in there, like radio and an antenna coming out that way. And another thing I like about this Sputnik is it's the shape of a shuttlecock. Yeah, right. There's a reason to do why it's shaped like that. Why is it not like shaped just like a ball or shaped like a pencil? There's a reason why it's shaped that way. So I think you learn this in satellite technology as well. Why shapes of satellites are important. Actually, you cannot just make it into any shape. Well, back then lah. Now you get to see many shapes. But back then, the shapes are really important in making sure that they fly or they orbit the Earth. I wouldn't say constantly, but in a manner that it will be useful for the satellite communication. You look at the type of satellite from the Americans on the right hand, Explorer 1. The left one is from Russia, Sputnik. Explorer has a problem. The problem is the gelong though. When it flies, it just wobbles around. It wobbles around because of the shape, it's a pencil shape. So you can imagine like it goes like blah, 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 around the Earth. So it's not useful because you have a communication device up there and then your antenna is like pointing all over the place, it's moving all the time. So it can't be too useful, Explorer 1. But instead, Sputnik, shaped like a shuttlecock, it always pointing in the same direction, just like a shuttlecock. Right. Shuttlecock never lands on its feathers. See, like Sputnik, it's always head first. So that's one interesting story about Sputnik. And then also the Americans at that time, they really fear Sputnik. I want to recommend a movie from this era. It is Hidden Figures. Go watch that. Hidden Figures. HIDDEN. Hidden Figures. FIGURES. Tells you a story about the female scientist on NASA. I'm going to talk about this one. Is my favorite spacecraft. Voyager. The Voyager launched in 1978. If I'm not mistaken, 1978, 1966, I think 1978. So again, I use high technical jargon here, but well, You will learn more about this in your satellite technology. But what I like about Voyager is it's the farthest man-made thing today. It's billions of kilometers from Earth now. Right now, it's gone past the solar system. It's I think here in more than 100 astronomical units, 100 AU. Okay. And the reason why I really like about this is because it carries a disk where the disk contains all the information like pictures, music, sounds, and everything. It's called Golden Record. Okay, it contains all these images so that in case, let's say, an alien civilization found the Voyager, and then he could see all these pictures. I say, hey, what is this disc right here? Hey, if you know, you put this on this device right here, you can see all these pictures. So in these pictures, it tells you about this is human being, this is how we look like, this island, this is how we compete in sports and stuff like that. So it's really interesting. And then they have many things like not only pictures but also sounds and writings and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool idea to put something just in case the alien found the spacecraft. But so far, Voyager still haven't encountered anything. Satellites today, who owns our orbit? Well, we got so many satellites today. What are they used for? Communications, observation, navigation, tech development, others. Okay, but you can say more than half is junk. I mean, it's either broken or is out of use already. Okay, and we will have a problem what we call a Kessler syndrome. Kessler syndrome is like this: when there's so many satellites in space, and then let's say you have a debris, something that is not used, screws or anything, and let's say it hits a spacecraft, a satellite, and that satellite will just explode into smaller pieces. And then all these small pieces becomes this again, and then it hits other satellites, which makes them blow into pieces as well. So you get an exponential growth of space debris or space junk in just a short time. So that's what we call a Kessler syndrome. Why is it so scary? Is because no matter even if like a screw, like a small piece of thing in space, but in orbit it travels around. You can imagine, you can ask those who have just taken space mechanics with me, what's the speed of a circular orbit around Earth, like the closest one, the LEO, around 7 kilometers per second, yeah? If you remember, the minimum speed to orbit Earth, 7 kilometers per second. That is fast. This is crazy fast, 7 kilometers per second. So even if it's like a piece of, I don't know, piece of plastic, but it travels at 7 kilometers per second, it's going to destroy everything in its path. So this is a big problem. It's a serious problem right now, space debris. But it seems like Elon Musk don't give a darn about it. So they just launch more and more satellites, and right now it's just ruining the sky for the astronomers. That's for another topic. And then scarily, there are projects in the next 10 years on how to launch more and more satellites. So probably in just 10 years from now, it's going to be 57,000 satellites in space. Well, what's going to happen to our astronomy society? They cannot see the sky anymore. Anywho, I'm going to spend this last few minutes, or perhaps just to tell you about some interesting ideas into the technology. So probably you'll come across all these ideas in satellite technology class, EAS 3812. So one of the most talked about, if you talk about the satellite technology in universities, is about CubeSat. Back then, a satellite that was the size of a bus, or at least size of a car. But as the electronics miniaturization, electronics now can become smaller and smaller, so we can pack more things in small space. So in I think towards the end of the 90s, someone came up with the idea of making everything modular. Put everything in a 10 by 10 by 10 centimeter satellite cube here. So that's why it's called CubeSat. It's small, it's cheap, everything is off the shelf. You don't have to research much. So you can have like a size like 1 CubeSat or 2 CubeSats. You can stack them up, make a bigger CubeSats, 12U. So this is an interesting idea, still been going on today. I think UITM was the first university who launched a satellite CubeSat 1U in space, and then they are launching another one, if I'm not mistaken. Also, earlier this year, my team and I sent another proposal to launch a 3U satellite using a French launch vehicle. But we just sent another correction to our proposal last month. So we don't know what's going to happen to it. But basically, the project was we put some bioreactor here. I think some of the team was doing the lab part of this satellite, and me and the rest of the guys are just looking at the mission and everything. So it was we don't know what's going to happen yet, but it's going to be an interesting project if it goes through. So another one is this idea was back when I was doing my PhD. Actually, I wanted to do this research, and then I was told that this research at that time was actually dying out already. The idea just went nowhere. But I think it's a really interesting idea. The idea came from have you heard of Isaac Asimov? Any of you a science fiction reader here? Isaac Asimov.
No, doctor.
Oh, okay. Anywho, he's a science fiction writer, and in one of his books, he got the idea of a space elevator. Okay, I know most of you who have taken space mechanics, you remember the concept of a geostationary satellite, kan? Geostationary satellite, where you have a satellite in an orbit far away, where it appears stationary as compared to Earth. It moves with Earth.
Yes, doctor.
The period is the same as 24 hours. Yeah. So the idea in the science fiction book was saying that, okay, let's put a satellite there, and then because it appears stationary, we can put a big cable here from that satellite down to Earth. So what we're gonna have is a structure, like a cable structure, is connected to a geostationary satellite. So whenever you want to go to space, you don't have to use a rocket. You just use a elevator. Put yourself in there, and then they will just bring you up into space, something like that. Sampai atas ni. So that's the idea of space elevator. It stayed as a sci-fi idea at that time, but it received an attention back, I think, early 90s. And then based from that idea, the idea of tethered spacecraft came about. Tethered spacecraft means 2 spacecraft connected to each other. And then you start wondering, okay, connected to each other, then what are they going to do? Well, they came up with a few ideas of how to use a tethered spacecraft. One is to launch a smaller spacecraft to higher orbit. So for example, for this one, you see, so you have a catcher spacecraft here. Okay, we launch a satellite in a low Earth orbit. Okay, that small satellite, and then this bigger satellite with the tether will just capture the payload, and it will just start spinning around. And then once it got to here, let's just lose it. So just like a catapult, you spin it around fast enough, and then you let it go so that you will go to higher orbit. Mathematically, it's possible. one of my PhD colleague back in actually did this. Paul Williams, I think he's right now, he's in Netherlands. He was still doing projects for TU Delft. He actually, his PhD project was on this one. So mathematically it's possible. Interesting idea, tethered spacecraft. But like I said, even at my time during the early 2010s, the idea was just it's not getting enough attention, not getting any attention anymore. So it was a fad for about 10 years, but then it died out. Still interesting though. The idea that is still interesting until today is this applying origami. You know origami, right? Origami is the Japanese art of folding papers and making it into other shapes.
Yes,
so back in 1980s, yep. Interesting. So the Japanese, someone really genius aerospace engineer there, who happened also to be involved in origami, perhaps. So they like arts too. And then this genius, I really like this guy, Koryo Miura. So he was saying that, okay, we have a problem of going to space where you cannot bring too big of a thing. You don't have enough space. You only have like a small space, but you need big structures on space. You know what I mean? Like you, on a launch vehicle, on a rocket, you can only bring probably, I don't know, this much space. But what if we figure how to fold something, put it in this confined space, and then when in space, in orbit, we can just fold it up, spread out, deploy it to make a bigger structure. So he came up with this idea. He named it origami in space. He said, well, if you need to bring something like a membrane structure, I don't know, like a solar panel, or a solar sail, whatever lah. That has like a flat structure, you can use this type of fold. Now I've figured out this type of fold, you can save so much space instead of just lipat dua, lipat empat and everything. So I figured out this type of fold. And then you can use this to fold those solar panels. So when you launch from space, you can just fold it up, put it in a small container, whatever. And then when in space, you can fold it out and it becomes as big as you want it to be. So the fold is named Miura Ori, how to lipat Miura. Cetak keluar lipat. The idea, although it was considered, it didn't get into application much afterwards, but it just spawned so many new ideas about how to apply origami in space. But eventually, this idea of Miura fold is applied on how to fold up maps. I know you are all new generations now. You are not familiar with physical maps like this, but back then we used this to just travel around the country. We don't have GPS that time. We use this, so it's useful to know Miura folding to actually fold your map. Anywho, this is just a storyline, it's not serious. I came up with the idea of, instead of sending big spacecraft in space like that, why not we send sheets of spacecraft? Sheets of spacecraft, which is like you can bring lots of sheets of like plates of spacecraft, and then once in space, these plates or sheets, whatever, they can fold itself into a CubeSat, for example, or I don't know, whatever 3D shape that you can do. So you save space when on Earth, you can just launch these plates of spacecraft or sheets of spacecraft, and then in orbit, it will just self-fold itself into a spacecraft. So I was just throwing out the idea, and then like a 6 months after that, there's a company in the UK who came up with the idea, the same idea. So I was kind of like, oh man, I should have went with the idea earlier. Maybe people will listen to me, but that's just a story. I didn't really go through with the idea at all. Ideas are dimes a dozen, but their idea was stupid. They say, the spacecraft become flat in orbit, which doesn't make too much sense. We want them to have a certain shape. Anyway, these are a few ideas that based from the genius Mira, how to fold solar panel. This is an actual prototype model, how you can fold up solar panels. You can also figure out how to make houses, tents on Mars with configurable materials like this. Very, very cool. But another idea that is being pushed around late this time is about going not to space but to a place what we call near space, using not hot air balloon, using helium balloons. And this has garnered more attention past few years, but it's really expensive also. You can see how big the balloon is, and you can imagine how much helium do they need to do this. And you need like a really big space too. But we've also done we as in our UPM student have done a few missions with space balloons. Interesting. Maybe we can think of another project like this later on. And then rockets, interesting things also based on the idea of Tsiolkovsky. The idea is basically you just spurt out whatever you have in the rocket, and as the small amount of mass going backwards, your rocket will go the smaller mass backwards, you're gonna achieve more velocity. So that's how we do it. You also sharp going backwards to actually move yourself to space. You learn about this in space launch technology. Really interesting on how you use this kind of propulsion to launch yourself to orbit. You can only use this when you are in orbit because there's no friction, stuff like that. Another interesting happening, new technology, is what we call reusable launch vehicles. Many people don't understand this idea because the idea was back then, or still now, when we launch something to space, the rest, the booster, the empty booster, just drops back to Earth, and then we just throw it away. It's not recyclable. It's actually burnt, and you don't use it anymore. If you need to launch some of the things, you need to build another rocket. But what SpaceX is doing with its Falcon, I think Falcon 9, Falcon reusable, is they want to reuse the first stage, so you don't throw away the first stage. Instead, you save the first stage, make it land on Earth, and then refuel it and get ready for the next launch. So it's not like a Pampers rocket, you know what I mean? Like it's just one-time use. You can reuse it again. So this is one of the recent technology advancement in space, which I think should be talked about more often. So this is a picture of how the first stage of the rocket being landed back again to be reused, to be refueled, and reused again, launched again. I think the next person after me, Amirul, will talk about solar sails, how to use the light of the sun to travel across space. And it's real thing. It's called solar sail. Really interesting. So I'm nearing my end here, but this is just something that I like to think about, but it's outside my expertise here. There's an effort from the planetary scientists to find habitable planets. Okay, if the planet is about the same size with the Earth or about the same distance from the sun, so they figure out probably that that planet is same like Earth and may contain life. So these are a few planets that they found, not with life, but have a lot of similarity to Earth. Actually, to find whether there's life in Earth or whether there's technologically advanced civilization is really, really, really small. Really small. Although the Earth is the universe is really, really big. You can look at this. You can search what we call a Drake equation. To know what this, I lost my pen actually, so I need to write with my mouse here. Drake equation. Okay, to find it, the probability to find it is really, really small. Because you can imagine that, well, maybe we don't find it in our lifetime. Maybe after our lifetime, there'll be alien somewhere else. Because if you imagine that, if you are like foam bubbling in a cup, yeah, we might be a bubble that's trying to grow, and then once it pop, and then another bubble grows. It's just you imagine this, but it happens in like millions of years, So you might not see another advanced civilization in your time because universe is so vast. Anywho, this is another interesting thing. I like this thing is because this is the first interstellar thing that is approaching our solar system. It's called Oumuamua. It has a weird shape. It comes from out of nowhere. It has a weird color, which makes people think that it's actually an alien spaceship. It's probably not, but it's really interesting to think of that way. And yes, actually about space, we don't know much about it. We only know the material we know. It's only 5%. The rest, we know nothing about it. Dark matter, dark energy, we don't have no idea. So here is because I want to actually suggest you 3 books to read. I like to read books outside my, like expertise. Like, although this is still academically inclined, but I really like this book. So take a look at this book. It's really like laid back. It tells about the universe, what like how big our universe is, what's the smallest thing in the world, a guide to unknown universe. It's really presented in a laid back manner, in a language that you will understand. It's funny as well. Cute drawings. I like it. If you're into sci-fi, I would like to recommend you this book here. Okay, The Three-Body Problem. I have another book from him, which I haven't finished yet. This one, I haven't got time to finish it, Wandering Earth. It's made into the movie, I didn't know. So I want to read this first before I watch the movies. And another thing is The Thing Explainer. I think this is like a more encyclopedia type, but this is one example. The Upgoer 5 just now, the rocket. One example is took from this book. It's about how to explain complicated things using simple words. You will find it is really hard to do that, and if you can do that, you're really genius. So 3 books here, get them whenever you can. If you find a used book, why not read it? All right, so thank you very much. I think my time is up. I hope you can learn something, or probably my hope is, after this, it will, spark a bit in you to actually learn more about stuff. All right, that's all from me. Thank you. I don't think there's any question yet. Is there a question?
Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmad Salahuddin, for such an informative talk on space, touching several areas, from the history to space advancements, all the way to the issues involved. I really appreciate it. And also thank you so much for recommending some books for students to further expand our knowledge on this topic.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay, so moving on to the second session. Okay, let me introduce our speaker. Okay, so he is a student alumni who did his bachelor's in aerospace engineering at University Putra Malaysia. He's also the winner of Vesta Award, and he's also one of the finalists in CISWAZAT. He has done a few technical projects involving rockets, HAB, and UAV. He's one of the members in Aerospace Society Malaysia, AEROS, Malaysia Space Initiative, MISI, and also Pertubuhan Mulhak organization. So with all due respect, let me invite Mr. Muhammad Amirul Fiqri bin Abdullah to take the floor.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Yasmin, for great MC today, and great job early on. Dr. Salah have been sharing quite cool, interesting facts about space there. Before this, I was told that that there is a talk, and the title is about Telltale. And then I asked the person in charge what actually to talk about. Same answer she gave to Dr. Salah, I guess. She said that I can talk whatever I want. So with that sense, I'm going to talk more on my experience, I guess. Dr. Salah sharing more on his knowledge. But myself, I think most of the students here is my juniors in first year, second year, third year. I think they are quite interested to know about my projects before. Okay, so let me share my screen now. All right, can you see the screen?
Yes.
You can see.
Cool. Appreciate the answer there. All right. Okay, so before we start, let's have a little introduction about myself. So that is me. This picture was taken back in last year. Imagine that, it was 1 year already. I'm doing this project, and time has been going really, really fast because of the PKP and everything. So I'm Fiqri. I'm actually a researcher in UPM. I'm doing my PhD in space engineering, and I'm actually a space advocate. So I support the idea of having space sustainability and space exploration, because in my opinion is that we as human, we should learn more things, new things every day. So I think the space itself is big. Imagine that early on, Dr. Salah have been talking a lot of things about the universe itself. So the universe itself is a very, very special, unique place to actually explore on. The knowledge that being held in a space area is very, very interesting. That is why I actually pursue in this kind of career. So here is mine. Let's move this out of the way. Okay, as I mentioned before, I am a PhD student in UPM. I'm currently in my second year. And throughout my bachelor and also my PhD, I've been working with Putra Space. So Putra Space is not really kind of official thing, but we are a group of students that have been doing technical projects, and we doing research, and we going for competitions, and we call ourselves Putra Space to make it looks official. And I also work on with robotic space technology. I have my friend, my senior, as a startup company. We actually developing a lot of things right now. Most of them are about electronics and also artificial intelligence. Well, more on that on later. So in this talk, well, the title is Tell a Tale. So I'm just gonna share my own experience, a little bit, I would say quirky or interesting facts on space projects. All right. Well, that is about myself. Officially, unofficially, I also an active member of a volunteering group. The MC early on mentioned about Mohd. So I also joined volunteerism. I love coffee. I think most of us here as students love coffee. Coffee gives me energy, and it gives me a good vibe in the morning. And another interesting hobby that I get into is also gardening. I have a lot of flowers. Well, I got pretty bored during the PKP, and flowering is one of the things that I tried. One thing that I want to share about to all of you as you are students, please go and explore the world. I mean, get to know people, go be active, and also try out new hobby. Because maybe you think that 4 years of bachelor is quite long, but the fact it is quite short actually. Imagine you are in your first year, and right now you might already want to go to the second year, and you haven't go to the faculty yet. It is really short. So my point here is just that try out new stuff, go active, be out with friends when the PKP is over, obviously. Okay, so let's go with my first stuff. So here is my research group. Well, I use this photo a lot of time. In my previous talk also, I used this photo. This is based in our H2.1 space system lab in UPM. So we can see Dr. Salah in there. we are quite active back there doing many projects and everything. Well, it's kind of sad that this group is being shut down. I would say done immediately, like in the PKP. Most of the people in this group already going to another phase in their life. Some of them already some of them going to a big company. Some of them change into a different kind of career style. Some of them actually got married. Some of them open a coffee shop. And imagine that back in 1 year ago, we are active in the lab. We are doing many things together, many technical stuff every day. And right now, everyone is changing. And this is the research group before, and this is the research group right now. I think most of us is having this experience right now. We are at our home, in our home office, and we just doing things online. So this is my PhD team. Some of them are local, some of them are international. And this is what we have been doing. We have a lot of meetings in every week, and we discuss a lot of things. Well, the style has been changes from time. And yeah, I think this is the new norm, I would say. But my point here is that although this is right now is PKP, we are in our lockdown. I really encourage people to actually to try technical projects, go for competitions, do some interesting DIY projects or anything in the department, because that is the things that you can actually remember. Because this kind of I would say meeting is good, but it's not something memorable, I would say. Well, something memorable is something you did with your friends, and you can actually remember all the things happen. So one of the things that we did is actually in the space lab, we did airship actually. So this is two of the airship that we have been developed. On the left is the old airship, and on the right is the new airship. So this airship is a project under Dr. Salah. So we the team actually developed the whole system by itself. We actually developed the structure, the control system and all the controller that involved in it. So this project has been going on for quite some times, and a lot of people come in and come out throughout the time. So this is one of the interesting technology, I would say, that I want to share out. So this, I would say, egg-shaped like airship is finless, and it is powered by 4 propellers here. As you can see, that there are 4 propellers that can move the airship over here. And this airship, the most interesting about this airship is that it can actually move like a quadcopter. So it can lift off and going down, move left to right, same as a quadcopter using 4 propellers there. So this technology is quite interesting that we develop it. And sooner, in the near future, I would say we want to make it a little bit bigger, and we want to have an application in the agriculture. Actually, it is an interesting way to spray stuff in the agriculture. All right. So the next thing that I want to share is one of the projects that that I've been doing countless of time, and Dr. Salah actually mentioned about it early on. It is actually about high altitude balloon. So throughout my 4 years of bachelor degree, I think I have done around like, I don't know, like 5 or 6 balloon launches. So there are many purpose of high altitude balloon launches from different time. We have we have a lot of experiments, and we carry out to do research and also for competition. But for today, I am going to share one of the experience, one of the, I would say, pretty interesting experience of launching balloon back in 2018. So in 2018, we actually joined the GSBC, Global Space Balloon Competition, and we get into the category of design. So we want to actually perform an experiment in near space, I would say. So the idea is that if a balloon, a high altitude balloon, or we can call it a weather balloon, it is being filled in the ground. So it will go up until 20 to 30 kilometers. Where it will explode because of the different pressure inside the balloon and outside the space. The balloon will be explode. So the problem with that is that the balloon gonna go sideways. So the balloon gonna be drifted away from our launching site, and as it's going down, it is gonna be about, I don't know, maybe 50 to 100 kilometers apart from the launching site. So this has been a big problem in the weather balloon industry, because if the balloon is going down into the sea, it is going to be a problem in the environment, because the balloon itself is latex. Well, latex can decompose, but it will require some time, and it is quite dangerous for the aquatic actually. So the idea from our team back in 2018 is that we want to have a recovery system for the high altitude balloon. So what we suggest is that we want to have a control parachute. So you can see here that this is a 2-meter parachute, 2-meter wingspan parachute. And we're going to attach this to the payload over here, and we're gonna have some sort of a mechanism. So we're gonna put some controller in there. So the control system will actually perform the calculation and actually bringing back the payload which is drifted away from our launching site back to our launching site. So that is the idea actually. So this project is being held by Dr. Sharif back in 2018, and we actually carry out that idea, and we actually buy two parachute. One is 1 meter, one is 2 meter over here, and another is really big, is 3.5 meter. Is I'm not mistaken. So the smaller parachute is we bring it to the beach over here to actually test the controller, and it's quite works. The fun thing is that the controller for this control parachute or autonomous parachute is quite similar to glider actually. So we have experience of having autonomous system coming back from space using glider before, and we kind of apply that in the high altitude balloon here. So we want to use a parachute instead of a glider, because parachute is a lot smaller and also a little bit lighter. So this is the payload here. It is weight around 3 kilo, as I remember. And then here's the funny part of this high altitude balloon projects is that during this time, I mean, all of you gonna have a hard time, right? We actually have an exam during that time, and the competition period is actually during the exam period. So the time of developing this product is actually really cramped, and we actually don't have much time of concentrating on that. So we actually spend the whole night before. The launch, we actually stay in the lab and doing all the technical works, make up the wrong things about the controller and everything, up until actually 6 o'clock in the morning. And although it is already 6 o'clock, there is some incident happening. Well, this thing happened from time to time. A very funny thing. I actually finished the whole thing. We actually put it aside, and I said that, okay, I'm going to have a prayer and I'm going to have a bath. Nobody gonna touch this thing. I said, nobody gonna touch this thing. Apparently one person did, and he actually messed up all the wiring in the payload itself. So what we did is that as our journey, so we launched actually in Sungkai Perak. So we go out about in 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. something like that. So during the journey, along the way, I actually in the car, in the back seat of the car, with the payload itself open with a lot of wires and a computer is turning on, and actually trying to solve the problem. You can see here, I have a video on here. So I actually at the back of my friend's car here, and we are on our way to Perak, and actually trying to solve the problem, doing some codings and changing some wires and everything. And the funny part is that what I can say from this perspective from outside, it looks like a bomb. And then there's come this motorcycle. He actually going beside me and kind of look into the car, and he looks pretty scary about it because it looks like a bomb right there. That is one thing about projects. You have to be prepared for any kind of random activities going on. So this is one of it. I actually solved the problems, and we going to the launch site, and it is fine there. And then this is how the launch site it is. We actually choose a very wide location. It is a field. It is actually a field near school. So we actually have a permission from the school, and we went there, and we actually set up all the required items for the high altitude balloon. So this is how actually we set up the high altitude balloon. So firstly, we're gonna put a big mat. There's this blue mat. This blue mat is legendary. I think already launched about 20 balloons already. We still use the same mat all over again. And the brown gas tank, this is the gas that will be filled into the high altitude balloon. We will fill in the weather balloon. So the gas that is being used in this application is actually helium, all right? So we can actually use hydrogen and helium, but due to the, I would say, safety issue, and then the, well, the one that is doing all the work is actually the students. So we actually just use helium for this application. And then what we did is that we're gonna put the gas tank to the floor there on the bottom, and a lot of people are gonna come by and start filling the balloon, and the balloon is going to be filled up. And then the other person will come with the payload, and we are going to launch it. So usually at the launch site, we actually separate ourselves into 3 groups. So there is one group here, this guy and a lot of guys here working on the balloon itself. So they are going to fill the balloon. And then there is another team I will show after this, which is me. I'm going to check the payload. So I'm will ensure that all the connection is on, the flight controller is working, and the release mechanism is working and everything. And then the third person, the third group are going to in charge of the communication. Usually the communication person gonna be slightly away because they want to check the clarity of the communication itself, the antenna and everything. So this is how actually the launch site's gonna look like over here. I'm gonna show a video here. So on this side, there is some people working on the balloon. And then if we go to the other side, we don't have tables, so we just use Hilux instead. So at here, we actually preparing the payload. As you can see there, I actually seal all the payload. I actually seal the payload. I don't want to have it exposed to the air, because up until 30 kilometers, the air is gonna be really cold. So as the air is really getting cold and different pressure, the flight controller might experience some problem with it. So sealing the payload itself is very important. But back in there, you can actually see this guy is doing the communication. He's gonna be far apart and just don't mind of everyone. And then we have this one. We launch it. This is how it looks like. We are going to hold it, and we're gonna count it, and we're gonna release it. So every launches, there will be many interesting story to it. And this is this launch back in 2018 is one of the, I would say, the most weird and also adventurous for mine, because as the balloon launches, after 1 hour, we lock the GPS and we actually track the balloon. After like, I don't say 1 hour, after 45 minutes or 1 hour like that, the communication is lost. And as the communication lost, everyone is like stunned. We don't know what to do, because it is not like the usually lost communication that we actually experience. This is like a new one. We don't know what is going on. The signal is not getting at all. We have actually 2 communication there. One is using the antenna tracker, one is using spot GPS. And the funny part is both of them is actually down. So in a very, 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 I would say, tension situation, and we are very, very tired because we spent all the night before. We did what the best we can do, which is actually we go for lunch first. Instead of searching the balloon, we just go eat first, let our mind clear out first, and then we start thinking. And then after we have our lunch and clear out our mind, there is still no signal, and we actually stay up at this nasi bambu stall. I don't know why we choose that. It's just random for quite a while. I would say around quite a while. It's around, I think it's 2 hours, something like that. We just discussing and we're plotting where the balloon could have fallen, and we predict where it should goes and everything. So this is the actually the mapping of the balloon itself. As you can see, the balloons goes from the right-hand side to the left-hand side, and there is a little dense situation here. So this is where actually our mechanism works. The balloon goes to the left, and then the control system actually turns on, and the control parachute actually tries to come back to the right. So as you can see here, it actually tried to turn. It actually tried to turn here. We are quite optimistic about it. But again, I'm not sure what is the problem. Perhaps the day is too windy, or there is a control system problem or anything. It tries to goes back to the right, and it's failed, and it goes all the way to the left, as you can see there. So this is where it actually lost the connection at this part here. So we only have one data here being sent, and then there is no data at all for about I would say 2 hours. We are staying up at the stall, and then after 2 hours we receive a signal. We receive a signal, and it is at this location here, quite far away. And if you look at this map here, we launched at Sungai here, and the last communication found is about here. It is around 150 kilometers, something like that. So we kind of rushing all the way there, and it takes around about 45 minutes to 50 minutes like that, because we are afraid that that parachute gonna fall into people's houses, or worse, it is going to fall in the highway, which is going to cause a major catastrophe. So we went to the last location here, and at that time it is already evening. It is around 4 to 5 p.m., something like that. So the last location is actually in palm oil places. So we actually go inside there. This is my friend Faiz trying to find the payload inside the palm oil land, and we actually contacted the owner of the palm oil, and we have all the documents needed. We want to go in and search their palm oil land, and they agree and give us permission to go in there. So we tried to search at this, I would say, bushes and everything. And this Faiz guy, he's crazy. He went all the way up the tree to see all the places, and we couldn't find it. At that time, after 30 minutes of finding, we can actually agree that, well, this is fucked up. this is messed up. Maybe maybe the payload already went to the sea. So we try to search again and again, and after like 1 hour, we get our next location, which is over here. So this is very, very far from our land. It is already drifted all the way to the sea, and we believe it is already landed. a cool thing about this thing, why actually the signal is turning on and off by time, this is because we use this device, it's called Spot GPS. So Spot GPS uses technology from the satellite. So it receives a signal from the satellite, and then it bounces back to the satellite and update the real location of our payload in the cloud. So to actually have a connection, the Spot GPS needed to facing up like this. It needed to facing up like that. So along this line over here and over here where it lost connection, perhaps the payload is going sideways, or the worst is going upside down. This is why we actually didn't have the signal. And then it is already 6 p.m. Everyone is super tired, and it was drifted way over the sea, and we cannot actually retrieve that. It is impossible at that time. And I called Dr. Sharid and tell what is going on and everything, and he agreed that, oh, let's just stop that and let's just go home. And then we thought that the payload's gonna be gone. we really thought the payload's gonna be gone, and we're gonna have losses. The payload costs around, I would say, 3,000, something like that, with all the components and in there. But what is valuable in the payload itself is actually the data. We want to know what's happened in the middle here. Why is the payload trying to go to the right, which is achievable, and then suddenly goes all the way to the left? We want to know, is the parachute snapped? Is the control system jammed or something like that? We would actually want the data. Several days has passed after we launch it, and we have our day like usual and everything. And then after, I would say 2 days, after 2 days, the Spot GPS is still turning on. That is significant. That is incredible, man, because it's turning on, and the good thing is that it's turning on at this location, which is near Lumut, Perak. So as you can imagine, it is all the way there, so much different. This is maybe 200 kilometers apart. And we actually sense it is about 30 kilometers from the land of Lumut. And we want a confirmation during the day. We are waiting for our maybe five connection. I would say 5 data coming at the same location, and we are sure that the payload is still there, and we are going to retrieve it. And then the funny part is that throughout the day, there is no connection. So as I mentioned before, maybe the payload is tumbled around upside down. We cannot have the signal and everything. So the payload have the signal, and it is at 2 a.m. in the morning. Very early in the morning, we have signal. We have many signal, actually around 10 or something like that. And then it is near Lumut, and it is confirmed. It is still there. It is not drifted away. And Dr. Sharid actually called me in the early morning, 2 a.m. And he asked me that, oh, we should go there and we should retrieve the payload. We are going to rent a boat, and then we are going to go. We are going to the middle of the sea and try to find this payload itself. So the next, after after Dr. Sharid called me in the early morning, I messaged my friend. She already actually have a connection with the with a boat renter in the Lumut, and he actually agreed to bring us to the middle of the sea to find this thing. So the next day, in early morning, not early actually, it's 10 a.m. So in 10 a.m., I gathered my team. There's 4 of us. We're going to Lumut from UPM. So we went from UPM to Lumut. So imagine this, we are going from UPM to Lumut, which takes about 3.5 hours. And as we reached there, it is already afternoon, and we went to the boat, and we're going to find the payload. And then as I mentioned, the payload is actually 30 kilometers from the land of Mohd. So we went there. It takes us about 1 hour to reach the point. And here's come the problem. The problem is that the location of the GPS is not accurate. Apparently, it is 5 kilometers apart, the sensitivity of the GPS itself. So we are actually in the middle of the sea, out of nowhere, 30 kilometers, and the GPS location is saying that we are actually at the same point, at the correct point, and we are going blindness to the left, to the right, up and down, trying to search this payload itself. After searching, we are going from going to the up, down, left, right, and for 30 minutes, something like that. And then after 30 minutes of searching, we got the payload because our, as I showed you earlier, our parachute is pink and blue, and it is very, very striking colors. And it is really easy to find. But it took us around 30 minutes actually to find the payload itself. So here is me. You can see here, I'm in the boat with my friends, two of my friends, and one is actually holding the camera. And you can see at my face, I'm already burned out there because the weather is really, really hot. And then I'm very, very tired because we took around 3 hours to Mohd, and then another 1 hour again to another 1 hour again to the middle of the sea and searching for it. Now, it is very tiring, but it is actually an interesting journey, interesting adventure, I would say, of this balloon launch. And then one thing I want to mention is that we thought that there is no signal in the middle of the sea, but apparently Celcom have 4G in the middle of the sea. We are 30 kilometers from the land, and for some reason Celcom is actually 4G there. We thought that we can only send and retrieve text messages. We can only use the line. And then we actually have our friend back in UPM refreshing the cloud service to have the precise location of the payload. And we tell him that you should send the coordinate using line because perhaps we don't have internet in the middle of the sea. But apparently we have. It's funny, you know, we have the internet connection in the middle of the sea. So we communicate with my friend back in UPM. He's sending the latest location and everything. And for 30 minutes we are searching, and here is the results. You can see there, that is my payload there. We are excited, and I actually try to catch it, bring it into the boat, and from here we can actually see the components of the payload itself. So this is what I'm talking about. This orange device is called Spot GPS. So this thing should facing upwards to actually send data to the satellite. And we have another one, which is our backup communication device, which is using antenna tracker. So this one is down. So luckily, even after 4 days, this Spot GPS is still working, and we got our payload back. And you can see there, we have, as I mentioned before, this is the problem that the weather balloon have. The weather balloon will be explode at 20 to 30 kilometers altitude, and it went to the sea, and this is gonna be an environmental problem. And we catch it, and then there's some funny things after this. We tried to pull the parachute, and there is a fish over there. and we release we release the fish. It is a pretty big fish there. We release the fish and we pull all the things inside. So that is my experience. One of my experience actually doing high altitude balloon back in 2018. Another thing is that I will have another experiment. I'm not sure when. I have this project back in 2019 where we want to actually launch a glider and having a recovery system. But then the project is delayed because of the lockdown, because of the pandemic and everything. And we actually delayed it up until now. So perhaps in maybe end of the year or early of the year, we can actually did this all over again. And most probably the glider won't go into the sea, but the process and the adventure and everything would be perhaps the same. So I will keep you posted on that because I really need some workforce on that. So I really encourage Junior actually to join that. So yeah, perhaps end of the year or maybe in early year, we are going to launch that. Stay tuned to that. So this is one of my experience, telltale. One of our experience, we have a space balloon. And then we have another one. I actually went into a competition in Maisa. Back then in 2019, they are called Angkasa, but with the new government, they changed the name into Maisa. So the competition called Siswaset. Apparently, we need to design a CANSET that have a recovery system. So there are two options for the recovery system. We can actually choose either rover or a control parachute. So I have a bad experience in control parachute. So definitely I don't want to do that. I tell to my friends. So the team decided to actually build an autonomous rover. So this is our design process. So this is the first ever rover that I tried to assemble. We just take whatever in the lab. You can see the thing is in hair wire situation. The wires are everywhere. We just use a random box there as the body. And from there, we actually improve. We need all the components, and we add on several things such as GPS, SD card, IMU sensor, and controller here, stepper motor over here. And for this CANSET rover, we actually did the autonomous control by ourselves actually. And with this capability is being held using a very, very cool microcontroller. It is called STM32. On this side, you can't actually see the controller. You can see it on the bottom here. So STM32 is a well-rounded microcontroller actually. It is being used in many electronics all over the world. And it is open source and quite easy to use. So any of you that have been doing projects in Arduino, I really encourage you to actually have a step up in it. So either you can go to Raspberry Pi, where you can actually program it in Python, which is better, or you can go for a much lighter microcontroller but faster, which is STM32. So STM32 actually I don't know, way faster than Arduino. Arduino is 16 megahertz, but STM32 is actually 72 megahertz. So with that amount of range of frequency that you have, it can have its own autonomous system. So this is the idea back then. We have a sponge wire because we want to have the CANSET being closed. So it is in a cylindrical form. We close the can set in a much compact form. And then as it reaches the ground, it will be open, pop, like that. So as it is being open, it's launched, it's gonna come out like this. So we're gonna have the sponge kind of compress and then expand. And then good thing about sponge is that it is good in rocks, in a messy surface like glass and everything. But the sad thing about this competition is that my team actually leading the competition, but then in the competition day where we actually execute the product, we actually test this rover over here. So this rover is supposedly to enter to this box over here. Okay, so this box is attached to a drone. So the drone will be goes flying into 100 meter, and then it's gonna release the can set from 100 meter altitude. So as the can set falling down, depends on the team whether they're using a control parachute or the rover. They're gonna execute their controller there. I actually measured the box. It is 20 cm. And I actually measured my rover like many times already. And it is actually 20 cm. And during the competition day, the rover really fit into the box. It fit, and I actually can slide it out. But then the judges don't like that. They said that it should have a little bit of room there so it can wiggle so that it can come off. I kind of not agree to that, because to my demonstration to him, I put in the can set inside the box and I can take it out easily. But then the judges said, no, you can't do that. You need to change your design. So that is where the disaster come from. So all this, like, I think 6 months of work, 6 months of design, 6 months of testing, and I need to change the design in 3 minutes. So as you can see there, I use a lot of metals there, and I don't see where this is going to works. I don't see where I can actually cut off some dimension there. So I tried, and then I mess up all the wires, and yeah, we are doomed. So from the best team actually, where we can actually send and receive a signal from our antenna, we did it pretty well. But then during the demonstration, we fail a lot. Nothing is working on. The can set actually not turning on at all. That's a bum, I would say. So this is the can set over here. It's cute, you know. You see that it is trying to go to the location that I put input into that. So the can set itself at the back, as you can see, there is a fin, you know. So that fin is actually stabilizing the can set. So without that fin, the can set go haywire to the left and to the right. So with the fin, it is stabilized. I mean, this is a good invention, but then, well, in competition, in competition experience, something like this is gonna happen, and sometimes you are not winning it. Well, that is for me. But then I learned a lot from this experience, and it is meaningful for me. Well, it's fun. You can see here, we are taking picture in Angkasa. We went for Angkasa about 5 times, I think, for presentation and also the competition day. It is quite a good experience, I would say. So my side is having different competition, as I remember, is using robot something. So I really encourage the students to actually go there and participate. This is a good experience during your bachelor degree. You can learn a lot of things and have a great memories with your friends. And then I have rockets projects. So other than doing high-altitude balloon, doing drones, doing CanSat rover, I also involved in developing my own rocket. So, well, it sounds rocket, but it's actually a very, very small solid propellant rocket. So it is actually a candy rocket. So you can search online what is candy rocket it is. So candy rocket is very, very simple way to actually to build a solid propellant rocket. So this is the propellant here. So it is composed of two main composition, which is potassium nitrate and also sugar. So apparently, with a precise measurement of potassium nitrate and sugar, you mix it together, and then you spark it with a fire, and it can actually perform like a rocket there. So this is a project with the department. I did it with Dr. Yazdi actually. We actually built a module for a very small module, a fun module for the kids. So this is the rocket that we are tested along the days. We try different combination. We use different fins. We use different bodies, different composition of propellant and everything. It is a fun experience to actually try it out. And as you can see in this picture, we have quite a lot number of rockets that we tried. And then after several months, I would say, we actually completed the module, and we have some of the students from SBP coming to the faculty, and they are divided into several modules. Some of them got some of them got propulsion, some of them got control system, some of them got structure. So they are divided into groups, and they made their products that we actually guide them, and then they combine it together. They have an integration, and they made their own rockets, as you can see in this picture. So we have around 3 groups, as I remember. So 3 of them, only one of the group actually managed to get the rocket fire up, and the rest of them failed. But it is a really, really good experience for us, the bachelor, where we actually built the module itself for ourselves, and then for the students of SBP itself. And then from this experience, these rockets can go up into 30 meters. So from this experience, I further continue these projects with Dr. Salah actually for my FYP. So this is a small sounding rocket that I built for my FYP. So my FYP is more on control system. So I use a controller, a control mechanism. It is called a thrust vector control. So in rockets, we can have many control surfaces. We can have control fins, we can have jets and everything. But for mine, I'm gonna use the same propellant from before, and I just have a study on the controller. So I designed the controller, the thrust vector control, and I implement it in my flight control here. So this is the flight control that I actually designed myself. So from my experience from first year to second year to third year, I built up my skills in electronics, and in my fourth year, I executed, and yeah, I built my own circuit board, and it is very, very, very satisfying because it is very special, and I have a Putra Space name there, and I have my name also over there. This is my first board. But then after that, I'm working in the robotic space company. We have a lot of boards. After that, it's never mind. But having to actually design this myself is satisfying. And I encourage all of you, if you have Arduino projects, electronics project, you should learn how to build a circuit board. With my storytelling from before, we have a lot of wiring problems. So wiring problems can be solved using circuit boards. As you can see here, if we implement it in my rocket here, we only have 2 wires. So the wires go to the servo. So the servo is connected to the thrust vector control. So you're gonna change the propellant angle in the bottom. So as you can see, this is only 2 wires compared to my previous projects. We have like thousands of them. And if one messed up, we had messed up everything. So, and again, I would really encourage you to explore and try to build your own circuit board, because if you already have experience in electronics, this is an easy job, seriously. And then with that experience, people are gonna hire you, and they pay a lot of you to have to design a circuit board and have electronics jobs. Okay, so this is just to show this is how the rockets are being tested. I have this my laptop here to monitor the stats of the rockets here. So the rockets are going to have free motion, and then the controller is trying to stay keep the rocket stay upright. So this is actually my FYP. So I designed this myself, all the things here. And then a little bit about robotic space technology. As I mentioned there, I help out my friend. This is Azizi. See, the one on the left. You actually sense him back then in some of my picture. He actually in it. So he is my senior. He also one of the one that do the airship projects. We did many things with the lecturer before, and then he started to open his own company, and we started to do industrial jobs. From here, we actually expertise in I would say electronics, circuit boards, and also AI, artificial intelligence. So this is the main core of our company. We have a lot of customer coming to our site, and actually to let us do projects with them. So the one that we are doing is circuit boards, AI, and electronics. I can't show much things here because it is confidential. But this is some of the things that we actually do. This is what I'm talking about, the autonomous recovery system for the glider. This is the collaboration between our company, Robotic Space Technology, and UPM with Dr. Amira, and also another site from University South of Australia. So we are going to launch this perhaps end of the year, or maybe in the early year next year. We will see. So I'm gonna have some volunteers on that. So keep that on that. And then this is some of the projects that we are working on. I think this is the middle one is about 2 years ago, I think. So this is a chicken weight scale AI system. So the big square over here is actually a weight scale. And then the one that I'm holding here, the small square, small cube, is actually an environment center. So apparently, chicken farmers, the one that growing the chicken, they actually went smarter. they want to have IR 4.0 in their farm. So what we deliver is that we can actually sense each one of their chicken in their barn to be identified, and we actually have all the data of their health. So as the chicken is going out, they are going to actually step into the weight scale, and then they are being monitored by the environmental sensor. So from there, we can actually identify which chicken is this and how healthy is it. So from there, the one that growing the chicken actually can decide whether to give more food or anything. So this is how actually the world is evolved. More AI is coming into the industry, and it is helping a lot of people. So this is one of it. And this, the one on the right, this is our biggest project. We are near to our commercial. We are going to commercial this soon. We have several customers already have their testing unit delivered. Actually, we delivered this back in May, I would say. We sent 10 units to Thailand actually. So this is a smart cart, smart shopping cart. Have you heard about Amazon cart? It is a smart cart actually. You don't need to have a cashier. So this is the way of future shopping, I would say. So you just have the shopping cart here with a tablet over here. So you have the cart going into the mall, and then you have an item, you just pick the item, put it in the cart sent it, and it is being transferred to your, I would say, checkout cart. So the checkout cart in the tablet, which shows which item you have already purchased, and you can actually pay on the cart. So this is, I would say, the future of shopping. And we are actually one of the company that are being pursued in this area. So space is really hard to have a business right now. So with our capability and our expertise is actually on circuit boards, electronics, and AI. Some of the company reached to us and to have collaboration, and well, this is where we are. Maybe this is our first commercial products, but soon we're gonna have some others. So perhaps in maybe 2 or 3 years, you're gonna see this in market. And then with all of that and everything, because I really like to share about my experience rather than about theoretical, but I'm gonna show some of it a little bit. So I mentioned before, I'm doing a PhD actually in UPM. So Dr. Salah also mentioned that I am doing on solar cell. So for those who don't know solar cell is like the future of space exploration. Imagine you don't actually need any kind of propellant for a spacecraft to go anywhere in our solar system. This is solar cell. So solar cell, it doesn't use propellant. It just uses the sunlight. So the sunlight, as you know, light doesn't have a mass, but in light, there is photons. So photons does not have mass, but then it have momentum. So what we can actually do is that the sun is at the space itself, so we can use it. So we can have a big, or we can have a large surface of reflecting solar panel to actually reflect the photons coming in. So as the photon bouncing the solar cell, it is actually creating a momentum. And from there, the solar cell can move itself without a propellant. So this is a very, very interesting topic, a very, very interesting area to actually goes in. An idea of the solar cell is going back to Kepler. Dr. Salah mentioned about this, the comet here. Kepler says that in every comet, as it moves along the sun, the tails always going opposite the direction of the sun over here. So there is some kind of momentum or even a force that going through it. So back in early 90s, actually some of the Russians figure out, oh, this is a momentum, and we can actually use this to build a spacecraft. So from the photon itself, it creates something we call solar radiation pressure. So the solar radiation pressure, as you can see here, so this is what driven the solar cell itself. So this momentum that is gained from the photons move the solar cell. It is very, very incredible. So this is actually my research area. So solar cell can be in many forms. It can be as simple as this one. This is a very, very small one, or it can go big. So this is solar cell. I think the second one being launched, and this is the solar cell from JAXA. So this is about 20 meter by 20 meter. So this solar cell have a very, very thin surface, and it is very, very reflective. And from that, like I mentioned before, it kind of getting bounces of photons and get the momentum. So what did I do? So my area is actually just on translational motion. I'm focusing more on transfer orbit to Mercury. For right now, I'm focusing on transfer orbit to Mercury. I'm comparing of instead of using current spacecraft technology, I actually do an analysis and actually provide a suggestion that, oh, this solar cell is actually better. And I kind of mix up the control system with AI. So I use a neurocontroller to actually predict the orbit transfer of the Mercury itself. Well, I don't want to go very technical on this one. I just have a very, very brief of what I'm doing, just to spark your interest and to have some new knowledge. So this is the solar cell that I mentioned. This was being flown by JAXA. So the next solar cell are going to launch in 2025, sorry. So this solar cell, it is about 20 by 20 meter. So the next solar cell in 2025 gonna be 40 by 40 meter. And it is going to be open up with kind of origami structure. Dr. Salah mentioned about it earlier on. So I'm not sure yet how the design gonna be because the Japanese haven't update on that. But this is, I would say, the future of space travel. Imagine we are required to actually bring a nuclear propellant to the spacecraft right now to actually go further into space. Like the Voyager, we need some sort of very heavy propellant. But for solar cell, we don't need that actually. We just require sun, which is already in space. Okay, and then I would say that's all for me. I think I talked too much. Oh yeah, it is for 50 minutes more already. So from what I'm saying early on is that just be very active, joins whatever happening in the faculty, either it is for your self-development or it is technical projects, because in the end, it is a very, 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 very important things that can you enhance in yourself and also great memories with your friends. So this is my classmate. We kind of graduated in the middle of the pandemic, so it is quite sad. But for all of my juniors out there, you have several years coming, and I would say in the upcoming next year, you are going to the faculty, and I really encourage you to be active and yeah, join whatever there are in the faculty. So that's all for me. Sorry for taking so much time and everything. So back to you, MC. All right.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Fiqri, for sharing your experience. It was truly insightful. Okay, moving on for the Q&A session. Unfortunately, we are unable to do it due to time constraints. So we'll move on to the next session. We have prepared a little game for you. It is on Kahoot. So it's just a small quiz. It's based on whatever that was delivered by the speakers. So all you have to do is just go to the app and enter the code that will be displayed in a while. And a reminder for all the participants, when you insert your nickname, be sure to put your matrix number on the side, so that it'll be easier for us to contact the winners. And also, here's a surprise, the winners will receive cash prizes, so be sure to go all out and win those prizes. So everyone, like I said, the winners will receive cash prizes. So be sure to join. Also, YouTube viewers are also welcome to join this game. We are still receiving participants, so do join us. Okay, everyone. So we will start the game. I'll do the countdown. So from 3, 2, 1. Okay, everyone. That was really fun. Congratulations to the winners. The winners will be contacted through the UPM email. Okay, now let's move on to the next session where I'll be announcing the winner for the Guess the Picture contest. So the winner is Nur Shakira binti Muhammad Molis from course Petroleum Chemistry. Congratulations. Okay, thank you so much for joining all these games. As I mentioned earlier, the winners will be contacted by the committee members of Aero Brainer through the UPM email. Okay, so finally we have come to the end of our event. Thank you so much for joining us despite your busy schedules. Okay, so before we end the event, I have a few announcements to make. The merit, the QR code for merit will be displayed in a while. And also, I would like to request everyone to, especially the AJKs, to turn on their video because we're going to have a photo session. Thank you.
Okay, ready? Ni Amirul. Okay. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, done.
To all the students, don't forget to scan your QR code to record your attendance for merit purposes. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Are you done?
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for joining. Have a great night ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Can I turn off the live stream now? Boleh offkan live stream ke sekarang?
Aha, rasanya boleh dah ke?
Boleh doktor.
Boleh dah.
Ya, tak boleh?
Boleh.
Dah boleh dah ke? Orang dah keluar.
Saya dah end share dah.
Okay.
Okay doktor, thank you doktor.
Sama.
Doktor, thank you doktor.
Welcome.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, Assalamualaikum.